Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. The nephew of Pope Francis has stated that 6 years have passed since the election of the Holy Father. His uncle is enthusiastic and vitality. Pope Francis's nephew ultimately articulates his uncle. There exists a certain type of familial attachment that transcends anything, including celebrity riches, not even the most exalted position. No one in the world can ever break. Recollect, between your youth and the pinnacle, significant individual in your life was not a star or a leader, but just a warm individual hand to grasp, a recognizable smile present at the dining table. This narrative will require you return to that sensation, a notification that behind even the most eminent leaders are uncomplicated, affectionate families who recognize them not as symbols, but as siblings and relatives and paternal figures. Following the death of Pope Francis, it was neither the cardinals nor the world leaders who won his admiration, predominant memory vividly. It was his family, particularly his nephews, who disclosed the identity of the individual, the Caucasian garments. What they conveyed will resonate. You exceed lexicon. To us, he was only Uncle Jorge, Jose Ignacio Bergoglio, offspring of the Pope Maria. Francis's sole surviving sibling Elena candidly discussed the true Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He was not the Pope. He was not the Holy Father. In their perception, he was Uncle Jorge. A guy who mocked his family jokes, those who mocked, those who embraced them ardently, who assumed a paternal role in a residence, occasionally lacking one. Jose Ignacio recalled when Jorge opted to accept the Pope. He acknowledged that his existence would never be identical. Consequently, it did. It was challenging. They were aware of his identity into the global arena. However, Atha's heart stayed anchored in home simplicity, humility, and an almost naive heat. Upon the receipt of news of his demise, it was not grief, for the Pope experienced the greatest eagerly. The man experienced profound sadness, embraced them tightly for adjuration of life. However, simultaneously, there was tranquility due to their acquaintance with Uncle Jorge had existed and cherished as he always did purposed. Jose Ignacio did not only share, he shared transformative recollections. During his adolescence, he faced difficulties with the ambiguity and skepticism that frequently clouds of young aspirations. It was Uncle Jorge who provided a transformative insight of counsel. Transformation originates inside through dedication. If you are unhappy with law enforcement, become a police officer and alter it from the interior. If you are discontented with, engage in political affairs. Through effort and conviction, we can construct an improved world. Elementary terminology. However, envision receiving such words from a man whose subsequent existence would ultimately exemplify that fundamental concept on the most expansive extent. Jose Ignacio assimilated it, and it influenced him eternally. Prior to addressing that, I must your assistance. I am attempting to attain 30,000 subscribers by year-end, and I would much appreciate it if you could subscribe and assist me. Within a realm which sometimes appears excessively large to alter, this the council served as a guiding beacon, may prompt any of us to take action instead of despondency. As the conclusion neared, the concluding very intimate moment persisted between an uncle and his nephew. In their most recent during the chat, Jose Ignacio shared exultant announcement. His spouse was expecting a child. Can you envision it? Despite being diminished due to sickness, the previous Jorge Mario's countenance illuminated with happiness. It was not concerning titles or Vatican affairs. It was concerning existence, fresh beginnings, the most fundamental and the most exquisite marvel that exists. In favor of Jose Ignacio, that recollection is now everlasting. In that intimate moment, the narrative of Pope Francis completed a full cycle, from a youngster in Buenos Aires to a man who made contact, the entire planet to the utmost crucial function of everyone, kinship. Upon the announcement of the funeral, the family encountered a poignant determination. Should they travel to Rome via air? Should they be positioned among the worlds? What is the number of leaders at the big ceremony? Individuals considered their position to be in Argentina. Their offering would not consist of gold or marble, yet something far more significant. Embodying the principles espoused by Pope Francis via deeds of benevolence and empathy, they inspired others as well. Do not honor him great grandeur, yet with benevolence. It was an extreme decision, and it reverberated even beyond their little circle. Due to a world fixated on, they opted for authenticity over show. Mario Bergoglio's path is a challenge, marvel. Not every nephew could stay behind. Mauro Bergoglio, the offspring of France's deceased brother Oscar, yearned to bid farewell. However, reality intervened. Method. Mauro was not affluent. A registered nurse, by profession, he had an unremarkable existence, distant from the Vatican's palaces, journey to Rome, unfeasible. The expensive solitude was unattainable. He believed he would forfeit his ultimate opportunity. However, a private donor, moved by a miracle Mauro's straightforward and sincere longing, silently advance. They financed his expedition. Envision, his appreciation, not alone for the airfare, but for the confirmation. Indeed, in a world frequently governed by despite money and influence, compassion persisted authority. According to Mauro, we are common laborers rather than prominent individuals. Nevertheless, their affection transformed them exceptional. Mourning a prominent individual may have been overpowering. However, Jose Ignacio and Mauro choose another course, a route that resonates with each of us who's experienced the loss of a loved one. Individuals taught us that grief is not concerned with the magnitude of the assembly or the splendor of the event. It pertains to existence, principles upheld by your cherished individuals. It eyes in the continuation of their lessons in your own subtle manner. If you have ever experienced loss in individual and believed that the world was indifferent, I acknowledge your suffering. This narrative is dedicated to you. Even the most influential individuals in the church has addressed how Francis's individual benevolence altered lives, not by decrees, rather than through minor human instances. Currently, by the testimonials, we observe the same fact in his nephews enlarged. Jose Ignacio and Mauro did not require notoriety. They were not required to occupy positions or don garments. Their straightforward and sincere recollection holds greater significance, authority beyond that of any elaborate eulogy. Because when those acquainted with you, the finest, those who recognized your imperfections and articulate your virtues candidly, your affection is unparalleled, evidence of existence well experienced. Prior to addressing it, I require your assistance. I'm attempting to contact 30,000 subscribers at the conclusion of the year, and I would really appreciate it if you kindly consider subscribing to assist me. Luis Tagle. Net wealth and papacy music ambitions. There existed a period when religious leaders were esteemed not because their affluence, but rather for their simplicity and spirit. This narrative conveys that experiencing discomfort. The comforting feeling that leadership may yet be grounded in benevolence, foresight and authenticity link with individuals. That is what facilitates the ascent of Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle, is exceedingly intriguing. Today, in an era of show, he illustrates the essence of genuineness. Although the world frequently admires billionaires and magnates, Tagle's purported estimated net worth amounts to around 100 million Philippine pesos, or roughly 1.75 million USD, as of 2025. In accordance with celebrity norms, that is unassuming. According to religious criteria, it is a manifestation of obligation instead of opulence. However, this is the actual narrative. In contrast to performers or CEOs, Tagle's wealth is not associated with private enterprises or individual indulgences. It is a reflection about his leadership positions. Previous chairman of the Archbishop of Manila Caritas, a significant individual inside the Conference of Catholic Bishops pertaining to the Philippines. His affluence is institutional rather than personal. He does not illuminate it. He employs it to serve. In a society fixated with plenty, witnessing a leader so modest is invigorating. Recall when that was the criterion? Tagle exemplifies that it may be repeated. Luis Tagle is not only an additional cardinal, he is an extraordinary phenomena. If you have ever perceived the world required leadership rooted on humility and optimism and humanity, then Tagle's Odyssey will resonate personally with you. He is widely perceived, considered a prominent candidate for the Pope, involving wagering markets and Vatican officials, with international media unanimously identifying him as an esteemed preference. It is not just hype, it is identity. He exists. He is referred to as the Asian Francis, and not gently. His pastoral approach resonates with that of the Pope. Francis's vision is of a church that is not confined, ivory towers, although residing amid the individuals, particularly those overlooked and marginalized. Empathy, inclusivity, and active service is not only a slogan for Tagle, they constitute his lifestyle. In what location while others pursue power, he pursues connection. Where others construct barriers, he constructs bridges. if experience were a Tagle, would already be adorned in race attire. The crown. He held the position of pro-prefect for the segment of first evangelization in the dicastery for evangelization, a role that is essential in molding the future of the church objective. Prior to it, he held the position as president of Caritas Internationalis, is topping that the church's international charitable network lives in conflict zones and disaster areas, disadvantaged communities. Tagle has not merely engaged in the study of theology, he has experienced it firsthand, all continents in every crisis. Among Catholics with a progressive reformist orientation, Tagle is not only popular, he is regarded as a guiding light. Numerous individuals who revere the Pope Francis's reforms and outreach to the neglected interfaith discourse, addressing contemporary emergency, regard Tagle as the one capable of bear that torch advance. Envision a church that communicates, your tongue comprehends, your confronts challenges and engages with you at your current state. That is the Tagle Church. Imagines. That is the aspiration of millions now. Disseminate information to him. Tagle's quest is not affable, not at this time. Certain Vatican insiders express apprehensions. His kin, a 67-year-old individual, may signify a prolonged duration to pontificate, which renders certain individuals, traditionalists, are apprehensive. Some indicate administrative deficiencies, specifically concerning his supervision of Caritas Internationalists and management reforms, emerged essential. This serves as a reminder that leadership involves not only compassion, but accuracy, and it remains a test. Gaining a comprehensive perspective of the globe, historical importance of a moment, the world is observing. If Luis Tagle, upon becoming Pope, history will unfold a novel chapter. He would be the inaugural Asian, the most significant Pope in history. He would be the inaugural Filipino to lead 1.3 billion individuals, Roman Catholics. He would relocate the Church's center of gravity towards the globe southward, towards voices, prolonged unacknowledged. Envision the influence, a communication tell the world that leadership is non-existent, no longer a European preserve. That belief communicates in every language. Such empathy transcends all boundaries. For millions of individuals, Asia, Africa, and Latin America is not only symbolic, it is personal. It is anticipation itself, the issues he must address. A church, intersection. If Tagle is elected, he will assume office, will not inherit a tranquil church. He will confront a tempest, secularization in Europe and the Americas. Faith is diminishing. Polarization within the church. Contentions persist among conservatives and reformists. Controversies, financial problems, and instances of abuse have fractured trust. Experiencing difficulty in belief in leadership once more, hence are billions of others. Consequently, a leader such as Tagle, as someone who listens more than he speaks, articulates, who mourns with the afflicted, may be precisely what the world requires currently. He is not just contending for the papacy, he is contending for its essence, the ecclesiastical institution itself. The Vatican quakes following a significant event, notification of the forthcoming pontiff. On April 28, 2025, the Vatican formalized, the forthcoming conference will commence on May 7, 2025. All matters pertain to alteration. This conclave is distinct from any source prior. The Church has experienced several conclaves, however none comparable to this. Luis Tagle's increasing velocity towards the papacy when history appeared immutable, traditions entrenched beyond alteration. This, the narrative, will transport you to a realm on the verge of metamorphosis and demonstrate how one modest individual from the Philippines is currently positioned at the forefront. Limit of historical record. As of now in 2025, Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle is deceased, only a venerable ecclesiastic. He is a formidable candidate for the next pontiff, a name spoken throughout the corridors of the Vatican, proclaimed in international headlines, and supplicated, surpassed by millions who aspire to a church that resembles family more than a stronghold. Reasons for Tagle's ascendancy: unprecedented traction prior. Luis Tagle is not only another applicant, he is the embodiment of life, manifestation of the Church's future. A future molded by empathy and inclusivity and optimism. Herein lies the rationale behind his momentum, inevitable. Tagle is not enigmatic to those who cherished Francis. He is referred to as the Asian Francis with a specific purpose, reflecting the present Pope's emphasis on compassion, humility, and elevating the overlooked. As pro-rector of the Dicastery for Evangelization, Tagle possesses significant importance leadership roles within the Church today. Considering his previous command at Caritas Internationalists solidified his international impact and standing for assistance. Of Filipino descent, European education and an existence experienced within the Tagle is relevant to both the affluent and the impoverished globally, distinctively situated to connect continents, languages, and civilizations. Support among those chosen by Francis cardinals. Here is an astonishing truth. 80% of the current cardinal electors were designated by the Pope Francis. They were selected for their collective dedication to rejuvenation, compassion, and contemporary involvement. The fundamental principles, Tagle represents a blend of advancement and pastoralism positions. If you perceive yourself as an individual who contends that genuine transformation is feasible without forsaking tradition, thus, Luis Tagle's ascendance represents your aspiration incarnated. What is the severity of his condition? Candidature. This is not only optimistic. Conjecture. Tagle's designation is grave. Commerce inside the confines of the Vatican. International media consistently evaluate him among the leading competitors. Vatican City insiders refer to him as Francis. 2. Influential designation inside a religion, eager to persevere on its trajectory of benevolence and outreach. If elected, Tagle would assume office. The inaugural contemporary Asian Pope, and the initially from the Philippines. A profoundly significant occasion for the world's third greatest Catholic denomination nation. However, experienced observers of the Vatican conclaves are renowned for their erratic. The individual who joins a conclave as a papa renders it as a cardinal. The adage implies that nothing is assured till the white smoke ascends. Experiencing difficulty between the tension between hope and realism, Tagle's candidature embodies that emotional tightrope flawlessly. How Tagle compares to others' major competitors. In a conclave, no individual competes, uncontested. Tagle is ascending. However, he is no solitary. Who is wagering on Tagle? It is not only fanciful speculation. Leading Vatican authorities include authors from the Telegraph PBS and maintain a stable list of Tagle independently among the leading contenders. Worldwide Catholic, the media scrutinizes his every action and utterance. Appointment with increasing intensity. Francis appointed cardinals, those individuals who will genuinely participate in the voting process, appreciate Tagle's modesty, foresight, and unambiguous continuity with the Pope whom they adored. Upon the influential individuals in Rome, compensate this amount. Attention is never a matter of chance. There may never be another occasion akin to this. The Church is positioned, nearly quivering, between a future characterized by extreme inclusivity or a reversion to antiquity hierarchies. Tagle's nomination's the final optimal opportunity to retain the essence of Pope Francis enduring and expanding. If you have ever desired that the Church would exhibit greater hospitality and inclusivity, affectionate, increased, be bold, the moment is now. Not subsequent conclave, not at some indefinite future time currently.